Think we're on episode 4 now? Moving along quick. We're live, bud.
Oh, hi everybody. Welcome back. This is Stretch. I'm Google. Welcome back to another episode of the Where Questions Lead podcast, where we dive into things that Stretch says and we find out how very underprepared I am, and then questions lead on from there and we see where we are.
For the record, though, this week's subject was your proposal, not mine.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm ready. Let's go. You want to say something?
Yeah, I'll begin with my monologue. Throughout history, natural disasters have left a profound mark on humanity, shaping civilizations, altering landscapes, and reminding us of nature's immense power. From volcanic eruptions that wiped entire cities off the map to earthquakes and tsunamis that forever changed the course of history, these events leave behind stories of devastation, resilience, and sometimes renewal. What makes these disasters so impactful isn't just the immediate destruction they cause, but the long-term effects they have on culture, politics, and the environment. Today, we'll explore some of the most significant natural disasters in history, events that shook the world, quite literally, and discuss how they've shaped the way we understand and prepare for nature's most extreme forces. What are some of the most fascinating or most impactful natural disasters in history?
Okay. Sweet. Well, if you want me to go first, so one of the biggest ones in my life that really shocked me was the Japanese tsunami. Like, I don't know if you can remember that. The Tokyo, not pronouncing it right, but on the 11th of March in 2011, an undersea megathrust earthquake occurred. This is basically where there's one continent is literally pushing on top of another continent and creates an earthquake. There's two tectonic plates meet just off the coast of Japan, and basically the pressure had built up for a long, long time. Then one of them had slipped above, one of them had slipped underneath, creating a massive displacement of water, I think it's called. And it lasted approximately 6 minutes for this whole thing to happen. It happened about 72 kilometers east of the Osaka Peninsula of Tokyo region. Tohoku region. Man, name your things easier names, man. Name your things easier names. Right, Japan, if you're listening to this podcast, which I'm assuming you do, okay, change the names of your cities because we said so. Right? It is sometimes known in Japan as the Great East Japan. Okay, I could have just read that bit. You put that at the beginning of your sentence. Okay, the Great East Japan earthquake. The main earthquake was preceded by a number of large foreshocks, and hundreds of aftershocks were reported. Portions of northern Japan shifted as much as 2.4 meters, 7.7 foot, closer to North America. Now, the reason I want to bring this one up, right, is because this was the first time that you could just sense there was something different about the world. Like, for me, like, they covered it beginning to end. Like the earthquake happened, and then boom, the area got a tsunami warning, and all of a sudden, every news station was live, waiting for this tsunami to happen. And I remember watching on TV when all the tsunami warnings and it was live on news and everything. And just as the sea level started, the ocean was out. Like it had gone out, because when the displacement of water happens, it pulls the ocean out first before the tsunami comes. And I remember watching it on the news just as the tsunami started to come in, and we got to see that whole thing live, start to finish. Like, it just was insane. Like, this picture here is nowhere near doing it justice. Nowhere near. Like, some of the videos out there, if you just go on YouTube and type in Japanese tsunami, like, you will see some of the craziest footage that you could possibly imagine. If you stick YouTube up right now, Japanese tsunami, and it was broadcast live. We were watching people live running away from a tsunami, driving away, all getting caught by it. We watched entire cities and villages, from a normal city and village, and you see the ocean level rising and then coming over the walls and everything, to the next thing you know, that was the original earthquake. The next thing you know, the walls were breaking down. By the end of it, the entire villages and cities and everything were just gone. It was nothing but just fields of water, buildings and parts of buildings and cars and everything all mixed in together, floating together. This is clearly something off near the beginning, like, because by the end of it, none of that even existed. Like,
yeah, this would have been shortly after the tsunami hit.
Yeah. Look at that. That is nowhere near the most shocking footage that's out there. But I tell you, even just that alone just shows you.
Oh, yeah.
There,
well,
you can see it hasn't. It's just breached the wall there. Now, just breached the wall. Look at it. By the end of this video, none of this exists.
Well, and if you look closely too, you can see that in most places the water isn't more than knee deep, a foot and a half, maybe 2 feet deep at the most.
At first, yeah.
Well, yeah, at first.
Eventually, it gets extreme. Look, we're literally watching buildings starting to get wiped away now. By the end of this video, I'm assuming all of that's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, look, that's a better description of exactly what I was just saying. Only I did this because I'm woo, whatever that means. But my goodness, that day was such a shock to me, when you could realize you would see all these things like that are happening around the world, live. Yeah, it's pulling the water out as it pushes it in.
Stuff.
Well,
people don't realize too. Like one big misconception, not to hijack your talk here, but one big misconception that people have about tsunamis is they think they're just regular waves. I'd like to take a moment to point out the differences, right? A regular wave, generally speaking, is just occurring on the surface of the water, right? It's due to wind, other essentially friction. Tsunamis, the entire mass of water is moving. So when we talk about obviously these aren't just normal waves. When you're displacing that much water, it has to go somewhere. And unfortunately, in this case, it devastated the eastern coast of Japan.
It wasn't just the eastern coast of Japan. This thing spread out, right? Like, let me send you a quick picture, okay? See if you can pull that up. This thing went far. It went all the way to Africa. All the way to Africa.
Well, yes, like obviously,
but not to the extent of Japan, obviously. But there was other places that sure as hell that it affected.
So is this like displacement of water? What exactly are we looking at here?
This is the tsunami before it obviously settled and that, you know.
Well, what is this?
Just what do you mean?
What are the measurements here? Is this like the elevation of the size of the tsunami, for want of a better word, or what exactly are we?
It's just a picture, bro. It's just a picture. I don't know. I just the waves. This is where it affected. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's insane, man.
This is just where it affected, and to think how far, like even to feel the effects of something that far away. Look, by the time it got to Africa, I don't think it would have made a huge difference, but you never know. Let's actually Google it and find out. Let's Google it and find out. Did the Japanese tsunami affect Africa? 2000 Indian Ocean tsunami did have an impact on the South African coast. It didn't cause any deaths in Africa, but it made a difference somehow.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. I mean, Japan
But
trades
that
with
is,
just about everybody. So the disruption in trade enough. We start talking about indirect impacts. I mean,
mm,
the actual scale of this disaster is immeasurable.
well, think about it. Some of the people in the villages that we've just seen in the places they live in a lot, how do I say it, lower standard of living than, let's say, the fires, what's happening right now in Los Angeles. Like, look, I don't want anyone to die by any means at all. But if someone's house was going to burn down or be destroyed, I'd rather it was the multimillionaire's house than the people that's happening in this tsunami. These are just Japanese regular people that you don't have insurance. You've got no way of coming back from this. Like, that's it now. Your life's you have to completely and utterly rebuild, and you don't know how you're going to survive until you can possibly get it rebuilt, or so on and so forth. The place where you work is totally wiped out, so your job's gone. Like, it's just a snowball effect of from now on, people are just existing. Like this,
Oh yeah.
this destroyed lives, even for the people that didn't die. Even though, let's see, how many people died in the Japanese tsunami? 19,759 confirmed deaths, and still over 2,500 people unaccounted for, missing.
Yeah, which means they got buried or swept out.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's
The earthquake was a magnitude 9.1 earthquake. What is the biggest magnitude earthquake that's ever happened? What is the biggest magnitude earthquake that's ever happened? 9.5. That's the biggest recorded one in Chile.
May of
Okay, so
1960.
yeah. See, I use the voice to text thing. So I just
Ah,
speak it and it types it out.
there's been quite a
Because
few of them. Looks like there are three other ones. Japan, 2011, the one that you brought up. In the Indian Ocean in 2004, a 9.1. Uh, and then in Alaska, 1964, a 9.2. The scale. So this is an interesting tidbit, according to the internet. So we know it's correct. The the actual like the magnitude scale that they use to determine the strength of earthquakes is open-ended, so uncapped, right? You could have a magnitude 100 earthquake. However, a magnitude 12 earthquake would require a fault that is larger than the Earth itself. That's interesting.
No fault line exists large enough to produce a magnitude 10 earthquake. That's what that says there.
Well, that is a good thing, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen the movie San Andreas, right? About the San Andreas fault. Like, I think it's a movie about like the ultimate earthquake kind of thing.
Yeah, there are a
This is,
couple things that.
but surely it's just stuff building up. America's got so much things that could potentially happen to it, from that to Yellowstone, everything. Like, man, you guys are screwed. In England, we're okay, bro. Like, we're okay. We got no fault lines. We don't have no earthquakes. Well, we do actually. We have very small earthquakes that are extremely unnoticeable by humans, unless we use equipment to detect it. We're going to get flooded. Like, literally, if that tsunami happened where I live right now, I'll be gone. I'll be off the map. Like, where I'm stood right now, well sat, completely and utterly gone.
Yeah.
That terrifies me. If I was ever going to purchase a home, I would definitely take that into consideration. Like, what would happen if something happened?
Yeah.
If something
Well,
like that happened, or something, I'm not buying a home where that could happen.
so it's interesting because, like, I live in Oklahoma, right? So middle of the country. Um, I, earthquakes aren't a factor. Like, we get them occasionally, predominantly due to fracking farther south. Uh, but even so, they're small. Like, nothing's falling off the walls, right? Um, but living in the Midwest, we get tornadoes frequently. Uh, and the same way with people who live on the sides of volcanoes, it becomes a way of life, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you're prepared, you know what to do and how to do it if you need to handle an emergency. Uh,
Mm.
and yeah, I mean, one of the things that I won't call it a requirement exactly,
I
but
can
one of
hear
the
you. I just have to turn the heating down.
no, you're good. One of the things I looked at buying a house was whether or not the house had a tornado shelter, because I knew if it didn't, I would be dropping the the money to have one installed soon
Yep.
after purchase. So, and I've been
All right.
fortunate.
Question:
Good.
how come all the Americans that live in these like tornado alleys and stuff like that, they all build their houses out of wood? Like that. Look, I know it could still take out a house that's made out of, like, say, all the houses in England are made out of brick, like strong, solid, like really lasts for hundreds of years, kind of thing. But like, surely you guys should be making your houses in a tornado alley out of something other than just wood.
I mean, we could pose the same question to people who live in flood zones. And England has flood zones, right?
Okay, England has a
Um,
lot of flood zones, and you can't get insurance in those flood zones and everything. They do things to prepare. Okay, they do a lot of things. The house can go underwater, but like the house is still going to be standing and all that. I do also think it's silly to be building houses in flooded areas. They've done that just not far from me, actually. Like, they're building all these new houses around near me, but we're only 42 foot above sea level
mm,
right here. Like, what state do you live in?
Oklahoma.
How high above sea level is Oklahoma? 4,975 foot.
Yeah, so
You
that
are
is not
so much higher than me right now. You are way the hell up there. I am
I'm
way there. Let's have a look.
I'm not
I'm
though.
42 foot. You are.
I'm not.
Oh, what are you
So
not? How are you not?
I'm at about 1,200 feet above sea level. So a little more than a kilometer above sea level. Or not kilometer, excuse me. We're talking feet, not meters. What's that in meters? 365.2 meters.
I just went off what you said. You said Oklahoma. This says
Yeah, I looked up.
4,970.
That's the highest
You looked
point.
up, yeah,
I looked up my actual city. But even so, I mean, I've got mountains on either side of me, right? Like the ocean doesn't get to me. No, I think there are a couple things to consider, right? Like when living in Tornado Alley, I mean,
yeah.
they're obviously tornadoes are incredibly destructive. With that said, the relative amount of damage that they do compared to, say, a hurricane or a tsunami is negligible. Uh, and don't get me wrong, when I'm at that point where I'm retired and eventually I do want to, buy land and build a house on the land, I don't want to have to shelter in place. If there's a tornado, I want to be able to just go about my day like normal. Uh, the cost to do, like the stronger you make the house, the sturdier you make the house, the more expensive it becomes to build. So it's just a cost benefit ratio. How much are you willing to spend for increasingly small returns and security, right? And same thing with floods or flood zones, I imagine. Like you could make a house that's completely impervious to a flood. I have no idea how much that would cost, but it would likely not be effective.
How about just don't build in a flood zone? Like,
Well,
they've
it's not
just
an option.
made some near where I am. Like I just said, we're 42 foot. Like, all it takes is this. Like, that sounds more than what it looks. Like, from where I'm at, if you look out my bedroom window, you can see right across the ocean to Wales, a different country. It is so flat. Like, if you got a drone and you went up in the sky for however the eye can see, it's just flat. Like, if the sea level rises here, we are 100% underwater. And that's why I would never want, this could never be my forever home where I live now. Because I know that, well, I believe that the day is going to come where these weather things and these weather phenomenons and all these natural disasters, I don't know if you noticed, but this stuff feels a lot worse now and a lot more common than when we were kids, right?
I
Look,
would
we
I would
get this
agree.
to an extent because when we were younger, yeah, with the news, it didn't share everything. There was a lot of things, and as time goes on, it's easier to access information and what's going on around the world. So you got to account for that. But in general, I feel like it's almost every day that something big is happening in the world, and even here in England, in the past 5 years, we've had more record-breaking rain, more record-breaking heat, record-breaking cold snaps, and everything, more extremities than the entire rest of my life. We've had the hottest temperature ever on record. We've had the coldest temperature ever on record for England. We've had the wettest month ever on record. And it's just getting worse and worse. I mean, we're extremely lucky that we don't get anything like the tornadoes. Or actually, we do have tornadoes in England, but they're just not big enough to make the news. You know what I mean? They literally, they're going to knock like a postman over. That's it. Like,
Knock
like
the postman
hello,
over.
that's it. Oh, speaking of postman, I got a weird package in the mail.
Uh-oh. It wasn't
Would you
from
like
me.
to see?
Is it appropriate?
So, it's a joke one.
Is it biscuits and gravy?
No. Someone sent me something with a picture of feet, and it said Feet Fetish UK monthly subscription package. And inside, there was a little card saying, haha, now your postman thinks you're weird. So, that was a very awkward moment to get the package from the postman yesterday. But turns out it was my brother. So yeah, I hope that tornado gets the postman. But yeah, we don't get anything like that here. But I do feel like I'm glad that they changed it from global warming to climate change, right? Because people very easily didn't understand the concept when it was just mainly called global warming. They just thought, oh, that means everything's going to get hotter, but it's not. Actually, England is likely, as climate changes, going to get wetter, colder, windier. You know what I mean? In different places in the world, and it'll happen different things. But
I mean,
dude, I'm scared. Go ahead.
I would say that people still don't quite understand climate change, and there are several reasons for that, right? From misinformation on both sides of the argument, the people who are aggressively pushing climate change and the people who are equally aggressively against it. Uh, and then just a general ignorance on the actual subject. The climate is changing. I don't think anyone in their right mind who has done any research at all, could disagree with that. Humans have impacted the climate, certainly. I mean, we release uncounted tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere that obviously is going to have an impact, positive or negative, on the climate. And similar to how we talked last week during the podcast, humans just being one of the few species that remakes the environment to our whim. I mean, we obviously have an impact on the climate. Where I kind of get stuck on the whole conversation is how much humans impact climate change and exactly how severe can we truly expect these eventual changes to be. Because every time I hear, I mean, I don't want to call it a doomsday message, but it effectively is. It's always, oh, we have 10 more years to get, to fix our climate, or else it'll be too late. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't make sense to me. Uh,
Mm. Yep. This where I live will be underwater in 40 years. But again, climate change is something that happens with or without humans. Okay, the Earth goes through cycles, and they believe it's because of the rotation of the Earth around the Sun. It doesn't just go in an elliptical orbit. That orbit also, I don't know the name of the pattern, but it really affects. And also, the Sun itself has cycles of how hot it burns and so on and so forth, and that what it releases. And there's a load of factors that would happen. That's why the Earth has gone through so many different changes before humans have even came along. Not just like ice ages, which is what's there been like 7 different ice ages, but also
Several, yeah.
this difference. 7? Did you say?
I said several, yeah, many.
Oh, I need to know. I need to know the number now. How many ice ages has the Earth had?
At
At
least
least
three.
five major ice ages. At least 5. Okay, well, your Google, you're supposed to know. At least. That's at least is not good enough. All right.
Well, there's no genuine way for us to know with certainty. Um, there simply isn't. I mean, our ability to reconstruct the past based on what we can find, through the fossil record and from the layers in the Earth's crust is minimized by the fact that we kind of suck at it. Props to the scientists who are accomplishing great things, right? But when we think about the actual duration of science, how long we've been doing science throughout the course of humanity, it's not very long. Um, we've been on the planet for something like 200,000 years, maybe 150,000, somewhere in that ballpark, and it's really only been the last 1,500 years or so where we've actually made genuine advancement in science. And if you want to be even more specific, it's only the past 200 or 300 years where we've made rapid advancement. And even that comes in bursts. But
hmm.
The climate's definitely changing.
But it does. What I'm saying is, it's not just humans. I understand we are contributing to it massively, I believe. And even if we were only contributing a tiny little bit, I think we should contribute zero. Instead of having cars that, and I don't think cars is the biggest factor. I think it's things like making concrete or cutting down the trees and using the wood and things like that. I think, look, for every tree that is cut down, it should be replaced. Every single one of them, right? But also, like, what if we've got the technology now? It should be having cars that clean the air, not cars that put out there. But like, every country is obsessed over oil now because they know it's a finite thing, and there's literal war. I mean, you're American, bro. It's your fault. Like, look, sorry, I had to get that one in there.
Give me 1 second. Sorry.
No worries.
Sorry. Iris got her claw stuck.
Ah, she's cat.
No, it's a complicated thing. Don't get me wrong. I've never been one to throw trash on the ground. I don't believe that excess is necessarily the right answer, right? Like, I'm all for finding ways to make engines more efficient for two reasons. One, so they consume less oil, right? So they're cheaper to run. And two, so that they pollute less. And we've made great leaps with that. I don't think that electric vehicles, for example, are there yet. They're not, over the lifespan of the vehicle, they're not any more efficient than the best electric vehicles are not any more efficient than or non-polluting than gasoline engines.
I think maybe that's because of the way that we get the electricity. That's still
Well,
not
it's more
a
complicated than that.
clean way.
It's more complicated than that too, because when we talk about zero emission vehicles, right? The best way I've heard it explained is, where do you draw the box for zero emissions? If you just draw it around the car, if you have a Tesla and you just draw the box around the car, it's a zero emission vehicle. It creates zero pollution, right? But if you draw the box around the car and the production of electricity used to charge it, now it's not zero emissions anymore. It's actually polluting. It's still polluting
Mm-hmm.
less than a gasoline vehicle, though, right? Because generally
I get what you're
speaking,
saying. Yep.
right, we could use renewable energy sources for that. But if you figure manufacture, right, where does the lithium and the cobalt come from? For one, the cobalt mining industry and the lithium mining industries are utterly horrible.
Yeah, that stuff needs to change. I've seen a little thing
Oh yeah,
about that, and that's literal slave trade
it
going on
is.
there. Like,
It's slavery. Uh, and to be clear, like, I know I brought up Tesla in this. From what I've read, Elon Musk and Tesla have made efforts to avoid using those sources for the necessary minerals, right? Which is good.
okay, right, here we go. I'm standing up. You know what happens when I stand up? That means it's speech time, Stretch. Listen up. I'm gonna tell you, right? I think Tesla, right? Forget about all the cobalt and all that. I just think, as a company in general, right, doing a great thing. At least they're trying, okay? Which is better than 99% of all these other ones that just want to make money, 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 which clearly Tesla does. But at least they're trying to do it in a better way than others are, right? But also, let me tell you why I still would never buy a Tesla, okay? Right? I don't like the idea of someone being able to remotely turn off my vehicle at all. Right? I'm not saying that's what they do. I know it's fully possible. Right? Are we on? Are you picking up what I'm putting down here?
I agree with you completely.
Dude, that's like I'm talking my priorities and my family. and my loved ones. Okay, that's it. If an emergency situation happens, even if it's a worldwide emergency situation, and I know it's some movie stuff, it probably has never ever happened, but just potentially for me not to be able to just jump in the car when I need to in an emergency situation and someone remotely turn me off, that's it. I don't want that to exist at all. And that is why even if I was rich, I wouldn't buy a Tesla. I don't like the idea of a third party or someone outside of the people that prioritize my family being able to control anything that we do in an emergency situation.
So I agree with you completely.
Okay, but
But as far as the viability of electric vehicles, ignoring the potential security risks, right? Because I agree with you, it is scary. Um, I do like what Tesla is doing, and I do want them to continue. I want companies to continue to produce electric vehicles, because I do think eventually we will understand the manufacturing process well enough, we'll be good enough at it, that we can make a vehicle that is more carbon or closer to carbon neutral than ever before, right? Uh, we're not there yet with electric vehicles.
well,
Any of the electric vehicles, we're not there yet. They're still uh, dirtier than gasoline vehicles, but you know,
Tesla makes all of the things that they make, like the car and stuff like that. They make it open source, and that's why all these other companies have coming out with their electric vehicles and this, that, the other, because they make most of what they do open source as well. So it is encouraging the rest of the world. Now there is a thing happening in England, right? 2030 is called the ICE ban, the ICE ban. In England in 2030, you will no longer be able to buy fuel-powered cars on the second-hand market, or any new ones, diesel or petrol. You will not be able to buy any new diesel or petrol cars after 2030. That's it. Everything's going fully electric. So it looks like I haven't got a choice. Why can't we buy second-hand ones, though? I just found that out. Yeah, so where are we going to get the money for all of that? All the new, so what do we just, 2030, just the lower class, like the working class people are just not supposed to have a car?
well, more than that, let's assume that everyone does get an electric vehicle. How the hell
Mm-hmm.
is England's electricity grid going to be able to handle that? There was a
Yeah, we
company,
still. Oh, you go ahead.
there's a company in the US a couple of years ago that wanted to make the change to a shipping company that wanted to make the change to purely electric vehicles, right? So tractor trailers, semis, lorries, I think is the British term. Um, but trucks that haul trailers, and they had I think 16 trucks, and the amount of power that it would have taken to charge all 16 of those trucks, not necessarily at the same time, would have exceeded the capabilities of the local grid that was powering the entire city. In other words, had they tried to charge those trucks to prevent the grid from collapsing, they would have had to implement rolling blackouts just to charge the trucks. Like you can't. It's not feasible.
Okay,
I'm not at all
I got,
familiar with England's energy production.
I got,
Right. Go
I've
ahead.
got a good example of it. It is a lot better now compared. Now we sell electricity to Europe, to the rest of Europe. But when I was a kid, right, the Football World Cup was on. Now, I know you guys think that the Super Bowl is the biggest event in the world. It's just not, and it's not even close, right? I don't know why I'm telling you this. I just had to get it in there. Get Ross. But the World Cup was on. Now, everybody was watching the World Cup. Now, when people watch the World Cup in England, I don't know what it's like with the Super Bowl, But if you went outside while the World Cup is on, nobody's there. There's no cars on the road. There's no people walking about. You're lucky if any shops are open.
Mhm.
Like, everything shuts down. Uh, wait, do you want me to say it? The soccer World Cup. No, the actual football World Cup. Now, so at halftime, everyone it was all great. Everyone's watching it, everything, and then halftime came, and boom, the just blackout. The entire country, the power went out. Like there was some crazy percentage of the country, all the power just went out because everybody got up and they went to the kitchen and they put the kettle on, or they did something and turned the light on when they went to the bathroom or something like that, all at the same time, and then just everything just shut down. Just that's it. Everything blacked out, and it took a long time to get that power back on. Uh, but yeah, that's a good example. Like, I don't think it'll be able to cope if the entire country moves to electric vehicles. There must be
It won't,
they.
like it. Uh,
Now they are
there,
building things.
and that's
Nuclear
a
power
good thing.
stations. There's 6 in process of being built right now in England.
So that's huge. You want to talk about green energy? Let's go nuclear power all the way.
Yep.
Uh, I hate windmills. They're ugly, and the number of birds they kill is obscene.
Hmm.
Uh, and they're not particularly efficient. Solar is not particularly efficient. Like the absolute best solar panels that we've ever built are only like 40% efficient, and those cost a ridiculous amount of money to make, so we don't use them. Uh, Generating power from waves is a remarkable idea. I don't know how commonly it's implemented. Geothermal's a good idea, but nuclear. Uh,
Yes.
the downside to nuclear uh, is so when we talk about, I don't know how much you know about electrical grids. So if I'm preaching a little bit, just tell me to shut up. When we talk about electrical grids, right, there are a couple problems that we need to tackle. One is that our electricity consumption is dynamic, right? It varies moment to moment, right? As evidenced by the example you brought up of people, everyone putting the kettle on at the same time at halftime during the World Cup, right?
Mm.
Uh, to account for those changes, that plasticity of the electrical demand, there are generators that are kept on standby, which can be spooled up or shut off to essentially ensure that the production of electricity matches the consumption. When that doesn't happen, that's where you start to have problems. It's actually a really fine-tuned process.
Hmm.
And props to the guys who are smart enough to manage all of it and keep it running. Uh, the big disadvantage with nuclear energy is you lose the ability to dynamically respond. So you'll never see a country that relies solely on electrical energy or nuclear energy, right? The amount of time it takes for a nuclear reactor to start up or stop is far too long, right? Because we need to be able to
Oh,
spool
so
generators up or shut them down
so
in a
its
matter of seconds.
production is a constant, like constant
Yes,
level.
and
Okay.
so not exactly, right? So nuclear generators, uh, I mean, they can be turned off, obviously. The amount of output, the amount of electricity they output can vary. The problem is it takes them too long to change that, right? Like starting a nuclear reactor, if I remember correctly, is like a multiple day process, similar to shutting it down. I mean, there's a lot of steps that go into actually shutting down a nuclear reactor or decreasing its power output. There's a lot that goes into that too. There's a simplicity of conventional electricity generation. I'm talking using you know, uh, carbon-based fuels, right? So natural gas, oil, things like that. There's a simplicity to those generators that allows them to be. I mean, think about starting your car. I mean, that's a, a gasoline or an oil-based generator, right? How long does it take your car to start? Like a couple of seconds. Compare that to the hours or days it would take a nuclear reactor to actually adjust. Uh, so I do think that nuclear energy should supply the bulk, like the baseline requirements. Um,
Yeah,
it's so much safer than I think most
everything
people
else.
realize.
But it has the worst name out of all of them, though, because
Well,
of previous instances like Chernobyl and things like that.
yeah, Chernobyl and
It,
3 Mile Island and uh, was it Fukushima, the one in
yeah,
Japan?
I'm glad you said it. I can never say that one right, as they always say the F word.
Yeah, so
But
we've
yeah,
had. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
but yeah, as far as I understand, it is literally the safest and most effective way to generate power. So you're saying that that should be the base, and to accommodate for the fluctuations, there should be something else.
Yeah, then I would say do
That's
something. If we were talking about one big change, Elemental Dad, what's up, dude? I hope you're doing well. If we were talking about like one big change, if I could snap my fingers and adjust how every country in the world did their electricity, I wouldn't get rid of like oil-based or carbon fuel-based generators,
mm,
uh, but I would replace a lot of the electricity production with nuclear energy, with nuclear power plants, and then you have your baseline with that, and then that plasticity that you need, that dynamic energy output that you need, you use the carbon-based fuels for that. You're still polluting. It's not a perfect solution, but that is, in my
mm.
opinion, the absolute best step forward as far as, weaning our society off of fossil fuels. Because right then and there, I mean, our oil consumption would drop, I mean, almost incomprehensibly, dramatically, right?
Okay, but if you were to decommission, which is not just shutting down, but decommission a nuclear reactor, can take up to 30 years.
It can.
Hmm.
So, Elemental Dad, I'm glad you said something. I don't know why my title didn't stick.
Did you press the save button?
I thought I did.
You have done at the bottom. You just got to press done.
Well, I thought I had.
Jigsaw said, I can do it quicker. You do a lot of things quicker than the average man.
There we go. Now it should be updated. Yeah, sorry. Sorry about that, Elemental. Let's see, what'd you say though? Just read the title. Your favorite is snow leopards have thick fur and large naval cavities that warm cold air before it reaches their lungs. That's a pretty good one. We could talk about sinuses and naval cavities for a while too, but it's off topic for this episode. Jigsaw, what's up, bud?
Hello.
Yeah, that was a good conversation.
Um,
That took us an hour.
why it's just that when we were talking about the tsunami, I can only talk about things that relate to me and how unsafe I feel living here. Like, so when I looked and I said that Western Supermare was 42 feet above sea level,
Hmm.
that's the highest point in Western Supermare. 27,000 properties in this area alone are at risk of flood. Like, can you pull up a map of what England would look like if no? Let's see what the world would look like if the sea level raised.
Let's see what we can find. Well, here's an interesting number though. Since 1880, average sea level has risen approximately 8 or 9 inches, or 21 to 24 centimeters.
I know how big 9 inches is.
You got to measure 3 times though, right?
Hey, this is a family channel almost. Maybe, kind of. Well, it's not, but like, mind yourself, because I'm
Alright,
glad
so
I could be the sensible one here.
here we go. This is a good map. I like this map. Alright, so let's check this out. So this is, oh, it won't do that. It's going to be a pain in the butt.
Instantly know that I'm screwed.
Yeah, so this first one, 100 meters lower.
Okay.
It won't let me zoom in as much as I would like. 100 meters lower, the channel would be gone. But
That's lower. Okay,
yep.
so if it goes 100 meters lower, the connection England to mainland Europe would be back. Look at that.
I mean, 100 meters lower,
Everything
it
would be
looks,
back.
yeah, Alaska and Russia would be connected.
Mm-hmm.
Look at
Ooh.
that. Like, we're, Australia
Well,
would be off by itself. New Zealand, Madagascar. Look at that. 1980s or 1887 Yellow River flood, Vietnam floods, excessive rainfall over central China in July and August of 31 triggered the most deadly natural disaster in world history. Yeah, that'll do it. We'll have to look that one up here in a second here, elemental. If we talk about, oh, here's 1,000 meters lower.
lower. We're going the opposite direction for what I asked, but
Yeah, but we'll go.
guessing the land mass is just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, look, I could go stand on this
Oh,
little point
yo.
here and throw rocks at England or Scotland, I guess.
Hmm. So Iceland's connected to Greenland. Greenland's connected to Canada. Like, okay, so this is what would have happened in the last ice age. Okay, the Barents Strait would have been connected, and that's how they think that humans got to the Americas at first. So this is roughly like how much lower
This was a
was the
kilometer.
ocean?
To be clear, this is a
Okay,
kilometer, so that's probably an extreme. Chances are it would be more something like this, which the Bering
how much
Strait is
lower
still,
was the ocean during the last ice age? About okay, so 20,000 years ago, the ocean was 400 foot lower. 400 foot lower.
so 400 feet. I don't know what that is in meters.
It's 122 meters lower.
Oh, so yeah, just a little bit more than this, which explains a lot. I mean,
Yeah, it does actually.
Father,
Son,
I'm going to bed.
are you now?
Why is my blanket here?
I don't know. I think your sister was using it. You can. Good night, my boy.
Oh, wait.
Love you.
I'm going to go wash this out.
Mm-hmm. Sleep well.
okay, now let's take a look at 100 meters higher. So this is what we're talking about here. A good chunk of the...
Yep. Can we just zoom into my house?
I can't zoom in. I tried to zoom in. It was being complicated. But yeah, I mean, a good chunk. It looks like a good chunk of eastern England would be underwater.
Yeah, most of that I'm screwed.
Yeah, a good bit of northern Europe.
Yeah,
A lot
just how deep underwater would I be? That's all I want to know. Look, son, this is what's going to happen if the sea level goes 100 meters higher. We are not going to live here at all. Have a look at this. Yeah. There you go.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Might be cooked. I love you.
Good night, my boy. I love you. Have a nice sleep.
You have a nice sleep too. I need to drink first.
I'll be fine.
Okay. You will be fine, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you just... Well, I'll tell you what, you won't be fine because guess what? You're going to have some guests sleeping on your couch.
Yeah,
It's me and me kids.
Oh, that's fine.
That's it.
I got a small couch though, so The Amazon basin is getting filled up too at 100 meters. That's crazy.
Oh my
This,
goodness.
yeah.
Look at South America.
Hmm.
I didn't think South America would be affected as much as that. Because there's a lot of mountainous ranges in there and everything, but
It is called the Amazon basin. So it does kind of imply it's a bowl. Let's look at 500 meters. So 500 meters, I'm now unhappy. Hopefully I evolved into a water creature or adapted into a water creature by then. Yeah, England is almost completely underwater. Looks like a little
so
bit of
what would have to happen for the ocean to raise that much? Because
500 meters.
so listen, right? I get there's a hell of a lot of ice in Antarctica and things like that, right? But on the North Pole, South Pole, whatever. But if all of that melted, where are we at then? Because you can't add more water to the Earth, you know what I mean? Less like a comet hit us or something. But even then, we'd probably be dead with something that much. But
yeah, 70 meters.
So, if everything melted, it's going up 70 meters.
Yep.
So the situation you've just shown me could never happen.
Yeah, not this. No, there was no way that this could happen. I don't think physically there's that much. I mean,
That much water on the Earth.
Oh yeah, like this is an obscene amount of water. So realistically,
Okay.
we're looking at something like this, but a little bit less. Right. So we'll
it's
still,
about this.
yeah. So I still wouldn't want to live on the coast, but realistically, the vast majority of people will be fine.
Okay.
This one though is interesting. I mean, half the U.S. is now underwater, half of Canada.
That surprises me. I assumed Canada was very mountainous, very high above sea level.
Well, this is also 500 meters up. So 500 meters of water on top of the oceans right now. This is what we're talking about. It looks like as far as England, bits of England, bits of Wales, bits of Ireland, Scotland's fine. But, well, most of Scotland is fine.
I told you, it's China. China's surviving most things, man. They're surviving most things they can do.
Let's look at the last one first. This is 1,000 meters.
I'm calling it now. This happens. Trump's saying that the climate change was developed in Wuhan. Boom. Sorry.
I don't think he's that far off his nuts.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Show me the poles. That sounded strange. Let's forget I said that. The bottom of the planet. The land underneath the ice. That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what we need to know. What's there? This is the last great adventure. If this ever happens, this is where we're going. We're going there. Because look, that's above sea level. All the ice is melting from there, and that's still above sea level. That makes no sense. The water's come from there. Yeah, this is where we need to go.
Well, so I mean, Greenland's fine. I mean, the UK's gone, completely submerged. Australia is almost completely gone, minus a few of the mountain ranges. Canada, US, Mexico are still there. The Appalachians you can still kind of see. Most of China's there, so maybe you're right. Maybe this is all a Chinese ploy.
It's a Chinese thing. Global warming, releasing the plastics into the earth. Made in China. Everything says made in China. What's it made for, though? What's the end goal?
To flood the earth under a kilometer of water.
There it is. You got to play the long game sometimes, man. With more water than is actually on the earth. Okay, yeah. This could never happen. This could never happen, right?
This could not happen. This is an impossibility. Unless we get bombarded with a lot of asteroids, or a lot of comets, excuse me.
Mm.
that have a lot of water in them. All right. Well, let's take a look at this flood real quick. So 1887 Yellow River flood. It's one of the ones that Elemental, or the one that Elemental mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't done any research on this, so bear with us. So we're just going to read the AI overview real quick. It's one of the worst floods in Chinese history, killing an estimated 900,000 to 2 million people. As Elemental said, heavy rainfall caused the water levels to rise, breaching the river's dikes and causing the dams to burst. Covered 50,000 square miles, inundating 11 large towns and hundreds of villages. Also destroyed agricultural lands, leading to widespread famine and disease.
I said 2 million people died.
900,000 to 2 million people.
In a flood?
Yeah.
Like, okay, that is absolutely insane.
Well, you also have to remember, this is, 1880s China,
Well,
so they're not particularly technologically advanced.
mm-hmm.
Uh,
Still, that's a lot of people.
Interesting. So I'm going to read this paragraph too. The Yellow River is also known as China's sorrow due to its frequent and devastating floods. The river's channel bed and banks have built up higher than the surrounding floodplain due to sedimentation, making it susceptible to flooding. So it's carrying particles, it's carrying dirt and debris from upriver and depositing it on, in the riverbed around these, or within this floodplain, and that's what drives a lot of these floods.
Just kind of creating things while destroying things.
Yeah.
In
a way, yeah.
Is there any pictures? Can you see any pictures of the area or the river itself? Just show us the culprit.
Well, here's that shows you everywhere it flooded. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that.
Nah, give it my go. You on the other things. You have
No,
to.
I'll try and pronounce it if you try and pronounce it. You first, though.
Wait, hold up, man.
Nope, that's the deal.
How wait, let me not say this in accent. Let me make sure I don't accidentally say this in accent, right? Because I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not about to get cancelled today. Here we go. No accent. Oaneko. Hayamanoku.
There's no
That was a
M.
little bit of an accent as well.
There's no
There
M
was
in
no
that
what?
word at all. You're adding letters that aren't
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Hey, dyslexia is a disability sometimes, okay? When I choose it to be. Right? Hayuanaku. Hayuanaku. Right? How then put this into Google. Let's pronounce this. Google Translate, press the thing, let's hear what it says, but first you have to go. You have to go. Don't you put
Hoyanku.
any letters in it. Just,
Hoyanku.
what? Sorry, are you yawning right now? What was that? Say that again.
Hoyanku. Actually, I don't know how to spell it.
Nobody knows how to spell it. It's like the Welsh. Have you seen the Welsh
Don't get me
words?
started.
Jesus Christ, it's the most unnecessary complicated language ever. When you drive in Wales, you see them on the road signs everywhere, and it's just as many letters as they can fit together. Do you know where I live? I get Welsh radio, and shut up, man. You don't understand what you're saying. You don't understand. That's not real language. Come on, man. All right, wait. I need to turn the stream up so I can hear it.
I don't think
Go.
I have the audio set up, but Hoyankao. Hoyankao. I was close. I was pretty close.
Yeah.
Say so myself.
Dude, why do I sound so atrociously terrible on your stream? I have a good microphone, a good voice and everything. Why do I sound so terrible on your stream?
I mean, you sound fine in my ears. Say something?
Hello? Hello, hello?
I mean, I hear a bit of static, but not too much.
Dude, my voice is way louder than yours, and
I mean, I'll just turn you down.
It's extremely disgraceful.
There we go. I just turned you down. We can tweak and fine tune after the podcast here.
Okay. Right, that was a stream
Crazy.
disaster, not a thing. Yeah. I want to see an actual picture of the river, though, bro. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm
Here we
trying
go.
to find.
Okay.
It looks like there's some drawings, but so these are interesting. This obviously isn't the.
So that is the river.
Yeah, so that's the river. Okay.
It's have fresh water as well. It's not salt water. So there must have been a lot of people living alongside that,
Oh,
which would have
100%. You gotta
ultimately
remember.
caused the millions of deaths.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta remember it destroyed a tremendous quantity of farmlands on top of, I think it said 100-something villages.
Damn. Flash floods are another thing that really interests me. Have you ever watched videos of flash floods?
Yeah.
It's just crazy to think that just out of nowhere, just a body of water with all this debris just comes flowing down at you. Some of the videos I've seen now, I've only seen small flash floods. Sad thing, actually, where I live, once a year there's the what's it called? When the tide raises once a year in England, there's this one particular wave because of the way the river's shaped going inland that goes all the way upstream, and it's very famous because there's little like surfers that'll go there once a year, wait for it, and if you get on it right, you can stay on it for an hour on the same wave all the way upriver. Man, I wish I remembered the names of things. I'm not very good with the names of things. A tidal bore. That's what it's called. It's called a tidal bore, and I don't know why I just shouted that out here, but I did because I remembered, and I'm a big boy, and I know the names of things. My chair's squeaky. Can you hear it through the mic?
No.
Okay, good. Because it's all I can hear right now.
I heard it then.
Dude, did you? I've been blaming my son. Like yesterday, I was because my son's bedroom's above me, and I was like, "What's all that squeaking? What's he doing up there?" I went upstairs. I'm like, "What are you doing? Like, what's all the noise about? Like, what's going on? You've been in bed for like an hour and a half, and you're moving about all the time. What's happening? Are you okay? Like, what's going on?" And which is a risky thing to do. But I went and asked him. It turns out I blamed him for nothing. It was my chair the whole time.
Tisk tisk.
So yeah.
Fun stuff.
All right. Done.
Well, now that we've
What's
gone
next?
for an hour and 20 minutes on your first item, shall we do one of mine?
Am I allowed to use the lavatory? The bathroom?
Are you allowed to?
I was being polite. I'm going. I'm going. I'm gonna need you to say something.
No, me in the chat, we're going to sit here in silence until you come back.
No, you're not. Come on, man. You gotta talk while I'm not there.
No, I could.
Sweet. Talk to someone. Okay? Social interactions is a thing, Stretch. Don't do the weird eye contact thing. It makes people feel uncomfortable, okay? Be nice. Be nice to people.
Elemental, that was a good recommendation, that flood. I definitely remember reading about it. Definitely remember reading about that. And China has certainly been impacted by several devastating events over the years that have caused horrible famines. You see, they had one this past year, starting in April. Heavy rains and flooding in the Guangdong province caused landslides, mudslides, and severe flooding, damaging roads, bridges, and killing at least 48 people. So yeah, definitely a lot of flood risk. Which, when you start to think about how some of these rivers in China behave, depositing sediment and all that stuff, it does make sense to a degree. But and another one in 1931, which that's interesting as well. So that flood would have occurred right around the time that the Republican government was or had just taken power in China. Definitely interesting to read about. Definitely interesting. But when Coco gets back, we'll press on with with at least one of my my contributions to today's episode. I don't know why I didn't go to the bathroom beforehand. Like I did. Just preparedness. No, I took an unorthodox path for this episode. We'll see if Kugel approves.
I don't approve. Oh. Right. No. But
You don't even know what my unorthodox path was.
right, I'm ready. I'm ready.
You're ready. I don't know that I have the time to do all of it now because we didn't
Pompeii.
talk. What?
Pompeii.
Oh, was that your next one?
Yes, but I'm going to let you go first.
Oh.
I just wanted to.
Just wanted to say it.
Pompeii.
Pompeii.
No, we're not doing. We're not doing things in accents.
Pompeii.
Oh, that's better.
So it's like I said, I went an unorthodox route with this. I didn't focus necessarily on natural disasters which occurred during the reign of humans while our species has been on the planet. Instead, I looked at our planet as a whole, right? So
Yep.
my first one occurred 2.5 billion years ago, the Great Oxygenation Event. So this event marked a dramatic shift in Earth's atmosphere caused by cyanobacteria producing oxygen through photosynthesis. For anaerobic organisms, oxygen was toxic, leading to a mass extinction event. Methane, a potent greenhouse gas, reacted with the oxygen, reducing its presence and triggering global cooling, possibly resulting in Earth's first snowball Earth period, or its first ice age. Despite its catastrophic effects, this oxygenation event enabled aerobic respiration, setting the stage for more energy-efficient, complex life forms. Now, it just sounds like a bunch of little bacteria started photosynthesizing, causing problems for everyone, and producing oxygen. But I will take a moment to talk about the importance of that for a second. The reason bugs are small, right, is because they don't breathe in the same way that you and I breathe, that mammals breathe. It's not quite osmosis. It's a different mechanism as I understand it, but they're absorbing oxygen from the environment, from the atmosphere through their skin, right? That pretty much puts a hard cap on how big a bug can be, and that's entirely dependent on the level of oxygen in the atmosphere. So if you increase the amount of oxygen they can absorb, or they can absorb oxygen more efficiently, they can get bigger, right? If you decrease it, they can't, they get smaller. So that's how you get rid of all the bugs. You just decrease the amount of oxygen. The reason it's important for us is because complex life, or what we would consider to be advanced, more evolved life, like us, like mammals, reptiles, including stuff like fish, uh, that takes, what's effectively internal respiration, right? Aerobic life. So without this particular event, we wouldn't exist. It's not even a question of would we have evolved looking differently. We wouldn't exist at all. Like mammals, reptiles, fish, birds, nothing like that would exist. It's crazy stuff.
It irritates me that you always pick something cooler than I do.
I'm not going to apologize for it.
No, okay, right. We can get into big things and everything. Okay, the Great Oxidization Event. Okay,
Oxygenation.
and I was just like, yeah, when the water came in.
No, yours was cool. Yeah, you want to talk about good
it,
conversation? We talked about yours for an hour and 20 minutes.
it was just a shock to me, but yeah, yours enabled all of life as we know it, multicellular, complex life as we know it. And it baffles me, little things. I know this is not the same thing, but
Sure.
It baffles me that oxygen damages so many things. Life, trees, plants, things like that, they put out oxygen. They take in the carbon dioxide. But like metal will oxidize, whatever, it's technically damaging it. But life, humans and everything, and many others, we breathe that in. We use that, yet it damages a lot of things. Oxygen reacts with so many things.
Well, we can
So
talk
many
about,
things, yet
well, the chemistry is interesting too. Oxygen is just a reactive element, right?
it
So
really is.
it makes sense. It makes sense that, I mean, in a similar way, what's another good example? Iron, right? We need iron. Too much of it's bad for us, and iron isn't particularly reactive. Like too much of it in your blood will kill you. Um, Oxygen's the exact same way. I mean, oxygen toxicity is a thing because it's reactive. Whereas, elements like nitrogen, it's quite non-reactive. So it's just crazy stuff.
So how do we find out the evidence that these things happen? I'm guessing geologists and see layers in the earth and things like that. But can we see a picture of it? A picture of the great oxidization in the layers of the earth? I'm sure we could Google one
We
of
might
those.
be able to. So the evidence is banded iron formations. Let's see. Open image in new tab. There we go. So stuff like that, right? And essentially, I mean, as you pointed out earlier, rust is just oxidized iron. It's literally iron oxide. So we look for iron oxide. We can tell at a certain point the iron wasn't oxidizing nearly as much, and then after that point it was oxidizing a lot more. What's interesting too, I'm not going to try and find the chart, so you'll either have to look it up later or take my word for it, but after the Great Oxygenation event, there was a spike. The atmosphere became something like 36% oxygen before slowly reducing over time until we reached the 18% or 19% or whatever it is today.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah, it's about 20%, give or take. I don't remember the exact figure.
What percentage of the atmosphere is oxygen? You pretty much bang on. It's 21%.
I'm a genius. What can I say?
20.94. It's 78% nitrogen. Mm-hmm. All right. While we're at atmosphere, right? Talking about the atmosphere. So there's a finite amount of atmosphere in the world, right? And when you breathe in, right, how do I put this? You breathe in more molecules of air than there are breaths of air in the world. Okay? Now you can fact check me on this. I'm quoting something I heard on Vsauce, right? You know Vsauce, the YouTube channel?
Yeah.
But the more molecules of air in one breath than there are breaths of air in the world. And because of entropy, say the word for us, I never say it right.
Entropy?
Entropy, I almost got it.
You did.
Technically, you are breathing in parts of the atmosphere that almost every human that's ever existed has breathed in before.
Yeah.
And animal, so on and so forth. I just wanted to say that. This is pretty cool. The fact that there's more molecules of air in one breath than there is breaths of air in the world.
Well, the scale of things is what has always been remarkable to me, right? And I don't think a lot of people realize it. Whether we're talking breaths or whether we're talking the atoms in there are trillions of atoms in each of our bodies. Like we don't have the capacity to count how many atoms there are in our bodies. And we came from stars. Like that's another just absolutely staggering fact that I think more people should know. I mean, carbon, right? Carbon is the building block upon which life on Earth has been made. To get carbon, we're not just talking about stars that died. We're talking about stars that exploded, right?
Mm.
They exploded. During that explosion, they created heavier elements. Some of them collapsed into neutron stars, creating elements like gold and platinum. And then were destroyed by some cosmic event, releasing those elements into the universe. That's what we are. Like we came from dying stars.
That sounds badass. Every time I hear it, it's very humbling. Motherfucker, I swore. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I swore. Okay, I didn't mean to, but he keeps trying to say cooler things than me, okay? And he knows I'm not very good at remembering the right words, dates, times, and things like that. And he stop with the poetic, okay? Humbling was, you could have left it there, but no, you're right. It's poetic. It's beautiful.
And I conceded, it's humbling too.
Wondrous. It was wondrous. Yes.
Okay, well, would you like to do your next one, or do you want me to continue on with mine?
No, you go for it. You go for it. You go for it.
Okay, fine. Cryogenian glaciations, 7 to 600.
Hey, bro. Hey, hey, hey. I'm not having this. I'm not having it, okay? Cryogenian glaciations. Like, man, if, you know what, bro?
I'm talking about an ice age.
Would you say that then? What's the matter with you?
Because that's what it's called.
Hey, I'm just a humble little boy from a little council estate in England somewhere, right? Like, I love the space, the stars, universe, galaxy, and everything. But if you're going to keep throwing these big ass words out, I'm going to feel less and less every time. Go ahead. Tell me about the cryogenic.
During the Cryogenian period, Earth experienced severe global glaciations with ice covering much of the planet, including the equator. Life persisted in refugia, such as undersea hydrothermal vents and small liquid water pockets beneath the ice. When the glaciers receded, they released nutrients into the oceans, sparking evolutionary changes and potentially contributing to the Cambrian explosion.
Okay.
See, I didn't use too many big words there.
Yes, you did. You even threw a little Cambrian explosion in there just for good measure. Like, yep, what I'm talking about affected the entirety of the human existence.
I told you I went an unorthodox route.
Well, you kind of covered everything because everything
I've got
affected everything.
6 more to go after this too. No, it's a remarkable thing. I mean, like we've known for a long time that glaciers will harbor resources, right? As they scrape along the ground, as they grow, they'll collect sediment, and that sediment is generally nutrient rich because glaciers, kill a lot of things in front of them. So it makes complete sense that as these glaciers started to melt, they released all those nutrients into the oceans, which were not particularly habitable up until then.
Glaciers are fascinating. Fascinating things. Giant bodies of ice that slowly move like a river over time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some of them, look, I don't want to throw a magical number out there and be wrong, but I'm guessing they're like a mile thick, like, or more.
Easily.
Like deep wise and stuff. And it's just the amount of things, the amount of even the like you were talking about the oxygen and things, the amount of air that could, an atmosphere that could be trapped within that ice from millions and millions of years ago that is slowly over time flowing down and being released.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be able to see, have a sample of exactly what the air was like.
Well, that's why they drill the cores out of the ice in Antarctica, and that's why that's so fascinating. I mean, if you want to look at a genuine, what's effectively a time capsule, right? Because everything happening in the world at the time gets trapped in the ice. So they drill hundreds of feet down and extract these cores, these cylinders of ice, and by examining them carefully, they can tell what was going on in the world. So we can see maps going back hundreds of millions of years of all of, well, maybe not that long. I don't know how long back, a tremendously long way back of all of these things that have happened. And so we see stuff. We see stuff like ice ages, right? We see stuff like volcanic eruptions, uh, meteorite impacts, right? We can find clues to all of these things, and they help us put together a remarkably accurate picture well, I won't say remarkably accurate. I will say a surprisingly accurate picture of our world history.
Okay. It's an awkward silence now. I don't deal well with
I can
awkward
keep
silences.
going. I can keep going.
You go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
The Cambrian extinction, 485 million years ago.
Okay.
Following the rapid diversification of life during the Cambrian explosion, the Cambrian extinction wiped out around 50% of marine species. Oxygen depletion, volcanic activity, and shifts in ocean chemistry likely caused this event. Surviving species adapted to new conditions, creating ecosystems that were more stable and diverse.
Frozen.
What?
Have I frozen? Am I
Uh,
the one that's frozen? Hello?
oh, oh. So you're not frozen on OBS.
Oh, you're back. You're back. Stream froze for a second there as well, and your voice cut out.
Yeah, it would appear a couple different sources were freezing here. I'm not doing anything particularly intensive at the moment. This is the only thing I'm doing at the moment, so
Maybe your computer needs you to stop using them big words.
maybe. But no, so one of the big takeaways as far as, the story of evolution from the Cambrian extinction is it set the stage for the evolution of early arthropods and mollusks. They quickly became the dominant life form on the planet as a result of this. Uh, it's just cool stuff, like crazy stuff.
Mhm.
You want me to keep going?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I
All
know,
right.
I know what you're talking about. I know what's happening. I know what's going on. I'm not sure if I can contribute anything without. I don't want to stray. Everything I would say would just be an opinion or a guess.
I mean, that's fine too. The
Um,
whole point is to have the conversation.
hmm.
The Ordovician Silurian extinction.
Stretch, like, I don't believe in violence. Okay, but god damn, I might slap you. I might just a slap. All right, come on, tell me what this is. I don't think I've heard this one. I've heard all the other ones. I don't know what this one is.
444 million years ago, this extinction event occurred in two phases. Global cooling and glaciation caused sea levels to drop, destroying shallow marine habitats. This was followed by warming and anoxic conditions in the oceans. Approximately 85% of marine species were lost, including many variations of trilobites and coral. However, the extinction allowed for evolutionary breakthroughs, particularly in fish and early land plants.
Okay. The plants start off underwater.
Yes. Oh, are you double checking?
No, but I want to have a look. What did the earliest form of plants look like? Hey,
Probably would have been
hold
algae.
up. Quick second. Did you know that there was like a billion-year span of the Earth that it was just fungi?
I
It was
believe it.
just fungi was the main thing anywhere and everywhere, and that was what eventually helped create the life as we know it and everything. Fungi that's a whole episode by itself.
Oh yeah,
Like
100%.
mush.
Yeah. So
Okay,
the order in which
I can see them.
I'm presenting these events is not an accident. Uh, But it's absolutely chronological, and I did that obviously to paint the story. But so, what'd you find?
Pictures of the earliest known plants, and it seems that they were underwater in muddy swamp-like areas, and when they start to stick out of the water, and then slowly evolve to live on the land as the terrain changed. Okay, so there is these fossils, okay, and I'm going to send you this picture.
Okay.
According to Google, this is the earliest known plant that we have record of.
Yep, that's a plant.
Well, Mr. Scientist, well, I'm glad you worked that one out after all the big words you've been throwing at me. Yep, that's a plant. Like, but yeah, underwater, and eventually they ended up sticking out of the water, and I'm guessing water must have evaporated and they adapted to live on land.
Yeah. Well, the same thing with
Yeah.
this extinction event, right? I mean, the rapid cooling and glaciation dropping sea levels like that would force plants and other variations of marine life to adapt or
Hmm.
die. What'd you send me here?
Plant life is like in the perfect environment. I would love to see what plant life could evolve into. Like over more, even more billions and billions. How old is Earth? What's the Earth? Like 4
About
billion?
4.5-ish.
How old is Earth? Yeah, 4.5 billion years old. There's a 3D model of Earth. Thank you, Google. It's a spinning ball. And where's my house? Where's my house? Where's my house? There it is. All right. How long has life been on Earth?
About 3 billion years, maybe, at the
It's
most.
3.5 billion years. Can you wait until I find out these things off Google before you say it out loud? Like, bro, stop knowing everything, you nerd.
I can't help it.
All right. 3.7 billion years ago. Dude, so literally almost at the beginning of Earth, microscopic organisms, microbes in the presence in the rocks 3.7. So that means single-celled organisms. I think that 3.7 billion years ago were microscopic organisms and microbes. So that means before that we're talking singular-cell things and bacteria and stuff like that. And then before that, like, dude, life must have just, as soon as Earth was a thing, then life must have just came around. Like, how did that happen
So
so fast?
that's the $1 million question, isn't it? We don't know. Like there's a lot that we understand. Um, we understand how multicellular life evolved. Like that the logic makes sense to us. Um, we understand how marine life can evolve to live on land. The logic makes sense to us. But we don't know how life started, and I don't think that's something we ever will. But no, it's crazy stuff. I like this photo. I like this photo you sent.
Which one?
The one I'm
Which
showing
one?
now.
Oh, okay.
It's a good photo.
Underneath that question on Google, it said, when did God create Earth? About 5,500 BC. Oh, it's a whole
Yeah.
different topic, and I know you're going to steer me away from it, but I just wanted to say it out loud.
No, we can. It's just factually incorrect. Like it.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
You said it.
Yeah. Literally all of the evidence points to the Earth being about 4.5 billion years old. All of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing anywhere that actually suggests that the Earth is younger than that. Shouldn't be. I don't think that's a controversial subject. I mean,
Shouldn't be, but it's
no, I
religion,
agree.
bro. People have very strong beliefs, and no matter what you say, like, hey, look, put it like this, right? If someone's deeply into religion, no matter what religion, right? Most religions, you can talk to them and you can discuss things, but there's never going to be a point when they're going to say, okay, well, I guess you've changed my mind. Whereas with me or with the average person that does anything science, I'm not a scientist, but I like to see some sort of evidence. And like, you can show me, like, I could tell you what I believe right now, right? But you could show me way better evidence than I've seen before, and you can change what I believe. You could change what I believe right now. Just show me evidence to prove that I am wrong, and it will change everything I believe. But like with the religion thing, it's like God works in mysterious ways or whatever, and there's just so much that just like you just cannot change the mind, and that's all. It's like, no, it's not. I'm not going to say that actually because I don't want to offend anyone. Because I like the idea of some religions. I do believe that thinking that there is a higher power or doing good, generally trying to do good for certain, no matter what the reason. I believe that that's a great thing. But not all religions are like that. But like the ones where people's trying to live the life in a good way, hell yeah, I support that. Stretch, save me. I'm digging a hole.
People obviously handle information differently. I would say that there are those who are fanatical about their religious beliefs, and there are those who are equally fanatical about their perceived scientific beliefs. For example, there are people who believe the world is flat. Again, similar to the age of the Earth, literally all of the evidence suggests that the world is round. I have circumvented the globe. It's spherical, right? We know this. Um, and icing on the cake, and I love this part. Every single time flat earthers try to do an experiment to prove the Earth is flat, they prove the Earth is round. But that's neither here nor there. Uh, you have fanatics everywhere. I would hesitate to say that everyone who follows a religion is necessarily closed-minded, because I used to be religious and I am no longer. Uh, and it wasn't just like I fell away from it. Like it was a process, and it was due to my increasing understanding of the natural world that we live in. My issue when it comes to those with religious beliefs are two issues when it comes to religious belief. I have no particular interest in proselytizing. I don't want to, I'm happy to discuss someone's religion. Um, Not particularly interested in people trying to convert me. It's thus far, it's been a waste of time for those who've tried. A frustrating one at that. And two, have the self-respect and respect for your beliefs to call them faith when the conclusions your faith gives you are scientifically incorrect. That's about as political as I can get.
All right. You want to move on to the next thing before we accidentally offend anyone?
Sure.
Um,
Well, do you want to do yours, and then I can try and run through my last
just go for
four?
your last one, bro. Just go for it. You're more prepared than I am. And everyone needs to hear some more big words, right? How else are we going to get people to sleep?
The
Let's go.
Permian Triassic extinction, 252 million years ago.
Fucking.
Potty mouth.
Can I swear? Can I swear again? One more. I've already swore. Can I do it one more time?
We need a swear jar.
I shouldn't have sworn. Okay, I'm extremely tired.
We need a
I'm extremely tired.
We need a fill in swear word.
May I swear one more time?
Not the F-bomb.
All right. I need the full permission.
As long as you don't use the F-bomb, sure.
Screw you.
That's not a swear.
That's all I wanted to say, okay? That was it.
That's it. The Permian Triassic extinction, otherwise known as the Great Dying, was the most severe extinction event in Earth's history. Volcanic eruptions in the Siberian traps released enormous amounts of greenhouse gases, leading to global warming, ocean acidification, and widespread anoxia. Around 90% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial species went extinct. This event dramatically altered the ecosystems and set the stage for the dominance of reptiles, dinosaurs. So 252 million years ago, there was a massive extinction event, killed most things on the planet, allowed dinosaurs to rule the earth for 200 million years.
What caused this extinction event?
So this particular one was caused, by our best approximations, by greenhouse gases, right? Global warming, essentially, is what caused this one. On a scale, well, on a scale that humans can't hope to duplicate.
Don't say hope to achieve. This is not a
Yeah,
we're not trying to do this.
I said duplicate, not achieve.
Okay.
No, so I don't remember the figure. I wish I'd written it down. But when the Siberian traps erupted 250 million years ago, the amount of greenhouse gases that were released as a result of those eruptions raised the average temperature of the Earth by several degrees centigrade, which is, it doesn't sound like a lot, right? I mean, it's like 1 or 2 degrees Celsius is nothing. But when you figure the amount of energy that it actually takes to raise something as massive as the Earth's atmosphere by 2 degrees Celsius, it's off the charts. So it does make complete sense, particularly when you figure that this was a volcanic eruption, so it was released. These gases were released rapidly, and therefore the change in the Earth's temperature, while slow on the scale of humans over, well, it was really quite quick when we're talking on the scale of hundreds of millions of years. Yeah, it ended up killing 80-ish% of all living species. The big thing being ocean toxicity, ocean acidity, killed a lot.
Goodness. Which kind of refreshed the planet and paved the way for everything we know today, really. In fact, no, there was other extinction events after that, wasn't there?
Yeah,
but I think that is the biggest one, though, right?
Yeah, that was the biggest known extinction event. And it probably is the biggest known extinction event. Like the fossil record and the research that has been done, as we would know if there was a bigger one, I think. Like they've been quite thorough. But on to the next extinction event, the Triassic-Jurassic extinction, 201 million years ago. This extinction event was caused by volcanic activity and rapid climate change, wiping out around 76% of species. Large amphibians and early reptiles were particularly affected. The extinction created ecological space for dinosaurs to rise as dominant terrestrial animals of the Jurassic period. So a second extinction event about 50 million years after the big one. Again, killed 70, 80% of the species on the planet. Yeah, crazy stuff. And this was another global warming event, by the way, too. There are really two
Was it?
ways.
Was that not the Chicxulub asteroid?
Oh, that's the next one. Slow down.
Oh my god! You okay? Right? Not only did you decide I just went for a thing and I was like, oh my god, like 20,000 people died off this. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna beat that, bro. We're gonna talk about all the death
Hey,
that's ever occurred in the history of the planet.
for the record, I did say we could meet yesterday and discuss. Because I wouldn't have told you exactly which events I picked, but I would have given you an idea of what I wanted to cover.
Yeah, well, go right ahead. I mean, these are the fascinating ones, the times of the world that I wish I could see what it was like before these events.
It would
You
be
know?
unrecognizable.
Mm-hmm. Life would be unrecognizable. The trees, the plants,
Mhm.
the ocean, the world, the just even taking a breath back then would have been totally different.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
and honestly, humans probably wouldn't be able to survive. And that's not saying we'd get eaten by dinosaurs or anything. Like if you took humans from today and transported them 200 million years ago, uh, we would probably struggle to exist in that atmosphere. Just too much oxygen compared to what
Mm-hmm.
we're used to, right? Because you can only be on 100% oxygen for like 15 minutes. It's really not a long time before you start to see symptoms. Uh, but
What happens?
I'm not too
What
familiar.
is?
I've never had the misfortune of experiencing directly or indirectly the effects of oxygen toxicity. But and I would look it up, but we are at time, and I'm gonna try and run through these last two real quick.
All right.
All right, now Chicxulub impact 66 million years ago. Massive asteroid struck the, or excuse me, a massive asteroid struck the Yucatan Peninsula, triggering wildfires, a nuclear winter, and acid rain. The impact caused the extinction of approximately 75% of all species, including non-avian dinosaurs. This cleared ecological space for mammals to rise and eventually dominate, shaping modern ecosystems. So when we talk about extinction events that, or natural disaster events that actually led to the rise of mammals and by extension humans, that was the big one. That was the most impactful one, and for us, I think. But
Okay.
all right, last one.
Not
So
not quite.
what do you mean not quite?
Well, I got one. I got one.
Okay, well I'll rush through my last one. I meant my last one. The
Yeah.
Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. Hypothesis is the key word here.
Oh, this is so interesting, man, because
This
the
is a good one.
denial, oh, this is an interesting
This
one, man, because
this
there's so much
this one
mystery
is
behind it.
controversial. 12.8 thousand years ago. So on the scale that we've been discussing for the
Very
past
recent.
30, 45 minutes,
Very recent.
yesterday, right? Uh, the Younger Dryas period marked a sudden return to glacial conditions, possibly triggered by a comet or asteroid impact. This abrupt cooling disrupted ecosystems, contributing to the extinction of megafauna, and challenged the early human population. It may have accelerated the shift towards agriculture as humans adapted to changing conditions. That's mind-boggling. So if it's true, again, this is all, I don't want to say spitballing because it's really not, but there's a lot of guesswork involved with this one because they don't actually know. Um,
Dude, there's so
but
much
this
involved.
this one is fascinating to me. Like for one, like this is where mammoths and saber-toothed tigers and all that. This is when they would have died. So recent.
hmm It
Um,
ended an ice age. It created a massive flood, which is why I believe that so many religions all around the world have a story about a massive flood, or cultures around the world and everything.
well,
The change. Sorry, I'm getting carried away, but
yeah,
you're gonna
no,
have to go.
it's an exciting one. So this they believe that the atmospheric cooling caused by a comet or asteroid impact allowed glaciers to progress farther towards the equator than normal, ultimately leading to cooler conditions and all that. Um, so not quite full-fledged ice age, but definitely a little chillier than normal. Um, but yeah, I mean it when we think about the actual impact on humans, because we were around, like our species was around for this. Uh,
That's when they
it,
believe that humans crossed the Barren Strait to the Americas.
yeah, and it may well have been that these extended glaciers allowed humans to do that. But also keep in mind that's about when we figured out agriculture, which if you want to talk about the single most useful thing that humans have ever invented, like agriculture is it. That's what allows specialization, right? That's why, we're no
Mhm.
longer hunter gatherers, right? Why the
Yep.
men aren't out hunting and the women aren't gathering. Um, because we discovered agriculture. So it allows us to specialize. It allows us to get good at one thing, right? Which means we focus on that one thing and then we trade that skill or that product for food that a farmer grew. Like it's the reason that we have the society we do today. If it's true and it's not just a spitball. All right, you had one more. Then we'll have to. Yeah, we're over time now, so we'll have to sign off after that. But
Oh, roughly about 4.5 billion years ago, there was a planet also surrounding our sun called Theia. It hit our planet. Its orbits collided at a 45-degree angle, thus really messing up our planet, increasing the size of our planet. On a side quest, though, it did create the moon, and I win this conversation.
I
So,
figured he was going to be doing this out of spite.
hey, thank you, Stretch. Like, dude, it is impressive your level of preparation and the topics and subjects you've went into. I have severely underestimated some of the things that we were going to talk about, but each one of the things that you've brought up, you could do an entire episode alone on each one of those things.
Oh
You
yeah,
know what I mean? So, well done, bro, and also very eloquently put.
thank you.
Thank you so much for today for having me on, and I'll catch you next
What
week.
for having you on? This is your podcast too.
Nah, bro, you took over it. It's not mine no more with them big words. You better rein that stuff back, otherwise I'm just gonna just fade in the background. I'm gonna sit over there.
Alrighty. Appreciate everyone stopping by today. Always Elemental and Jigsaw. Elemental in particular, I appreciate your input. Again, that talking about the flood was definitely worth digging into that a little bit.
Thank you. I'm not sure if they can hear us, but I will tell them that you said that, and I will shout at him for not being here.